Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Digital Insight. My name is Mike Bank and I'm here with Brett Akker. Brett, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself?
My name is Brett Akker, as you said. I founded a business called Streetcar about 10 years ago. Before that, I was at Mars Confectionery in various sales functions for 5 or so years, and then launched Streetcar, which was a pay-as-you-go car rental firm, originally based in London, and then we expanded to 6 other cities. And I founded that with a university friend, Andrew Valentine. We founded that in 2004, grew that from 8 cars and no members in London to about 1,500 cars, nearly 100,000 members, as I said, across London and 6 other cities. And we sold it to a company called Zipcar in 2010, where I remained for a couple of years before founding a new business called Love Space. And I'm also involved in about 6 other businesses as a sort of advisory or non-exec director capacity.
Okay, great. So in terms of actually founding Streetcar, how did that come about? Was that a conversation at university or?
It was originally a conversation at university that we wanted to do something at some stage. Right. And then we got to, what would it have been, 2002, and we decided we really wanted to have a proper think about it. So we actually went through quite a structured process of meeting up for 3 evenings in the week and at every weekend to discuss potential business ideas, what was happening in the market, trends, all these sorts of things, and went through probably 3 or 4 different sort of business ideas before we just read an article actually about car sharing generally in the States and across Europe, and we just thought, wow, it was a great thing for London potentially. We thought if it was going to work anywhere, London would be potentially the best place in the world for it to work. So it was from that article that we then really started thinking about it and then going through the planning process over the next 9 months or so before we launched it.
Okay. There's a couple of things I'll have to pick up there actually. One is, how much did it help you actually having a co-founder?
I think it would. We'd both say it helped a lot. I think it was in the very, very early days, it was always very useful to have just somebody to bounce ideas off. And I think, in fact, that was useful from day one to the time we actually sold the business. We both had different skill sets as well, so we complemented each other quite well, which meant it worked very, very well sort of throughout. So that definitely helped. And also, entrepreneurial life isn't always a bed of roses. It's not that easy sometimes, and you have your ups and you have your downs, and it really is quite a roller coaster ride. So to have somebody there to share good times and bad times, and when you have a terrible phone call or something like that, then to be able to have a laugh about it afterwards and learn from it, obviously, but just to be able to talk things through with someone was hugely beneficial.
Okay. So in terms of the work that you were doing prior to founding Streetcar, did that impact your decision to move into the entrepreneurial world at all? Did it help?
I think I probably always was going to head into the sort of entrepreneurial world, I guess, at some stage, and it was just a matter of when I was going to feel ready to make that leap. So, as I say, we actually had the conversation at university to start with that one day we'd like to work together doing a business. So we sort of, even then at 18, 19, we were thinking about it. I then, from university, left and joined a very small recruitment firm for a couple of years. And again, I was in a small recruitment firm in a brand new area. So again, that was quite entrepreneurial, and I was basically building a new sector for this recruitment firm, focusing on Middle Eastern local nationals recruitment. And from there, I guess I learned a lot about small business, about how to do things well, how to do things that I would have done slightly differently, and from there, I very nearly actually thought about starting my own business at that stage, but I felt that I was probably missing a certain skill set to be able to do that. So the reason why I went to join Mars was because they were renowned for their fantastic training that they provided. So that was the rationale from going from very small business to actually a slightly larger business, or a much larger business that provided that training. And then from there, I felt after nearly 5 years there, I was in a much better place to to start something myself.
To move on. Okay, and presumably that helped as you were scaling Streetcar over the years. That experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's Streetcar when we sold Streetcar is a very different animal all round from when we launched. I mean, we launched obviously from basically my bedroom pretty much in the early days, and it was just the two of us. And then we had our first employee after 5 or 6 months. And when we sold, we probably had 220, 230 employees, and a lot more cars and a lot more locations and a lot more members. So we tried to always maintain certain aspects of the business, or the core aspects of the business, or the core values of the business from day one to the day we sold. Yeah. But obviously, a lot of things had to change in the business in terms of how we did things. So thinking about how we were going to scale, thinking about what that business was going to look like in not just tomorrow, but in 6 months' time or 12 months' time was really important. So, and one of the best examples, I guess, is in the early days we used to go and meet every single member at the car and take them through how it worked, check their driving license, and it was brilliant for the first 100 or so members, because they met us, they actually felt some sort of sense of ownership, I think, with the business, and they told all their friends about it, and it was fantastic from a word of mouth perspective. However, when you've then got 100 odd members signing up every day, that's clearly not going to work. So we had to obviously change how we were doing that, and it was a lot more phone-based, I guess web and phone-based by the time we sold the business. However, making sure that we kept that sense of I guess personalisation that we had in those early days was really core to the offering that we were providing.
Okay. And as you were scaling the business, I think I'm right in saying that you got VC or maybe even PE funding, private equity funding, as you were scaling, but in terms of starting it up, because to me it's quite a capital intensive business. So how did you go about either raising the funds or getting the funds to start up?
So to start up, it was actually just our own savings, because we leased the cars, so there wasn't that much cash needed for the cars themselves, other than a deposit up front. So the actual cash to start with was from us two, but it was very much based on or spent on the tech sitting behind it. So that was bought off the shelf, both hardware and software. So that was actually where most of the funds went to start with. So we launched with our own funding of about £60,000 in April 2004, and then our first angel round was the end of that year, beginning of 2005. So we got a couple of £100,000 in the beginning of 2005, and that was mainly for getting employees in. So getting our first sort of 3-4 employees in to help us grow the business and look after various functions. And then that lasted us till early 2007 when we got some private equity funding in, and that was a much larger round, about £6 million at that stage, through a company called Smedvig Capital, based in London. So that was our big round,
and then that got you through to
sale in 2010.
Okay, interesting. So Brett, you mentioned that your large round of funding from the private equity player got you through to exit. How did that exit come about? Was that something that you were actively looking for, or were you approached by Zipcar?
It was actually luck more than anything else at the end, because the CEO of Smedvig Capital, a private equity company that was involved with Streetcar, happened to be in Boston and met up with the CEO of Zipcar. Now, we had a couple of conversations with Zipcar over the years where it didn't get any further than initial conversations.
Were they the biggest player?
Yeah, globally they're the biggest player, and they had launched in the UK in 2007, I think it was, but hadn't really grown the UK market that much, certainly compared to what they'd done in North America. So it was actually just a conversation between Smedvig CEO and Zipcar CEO and it just moved forward from there. I think Zipcar were looking to IPO in the near future, and they saw the UK as obviously growing their European share considerably.
Okay, and were there any other potential acquirers for your business, or had you thought about IPOing yourself, for instance?
We were certainly approached over the years. We were approached numerous times from numerous different players, from sort of car rental industry to various others actually as well. So we'd had a couple of conversations over the years, we'd had a couple of offers over the years, but nothing that really made sense to us at the time. But at the time that we were speaking to Zipcar, we didn't open it up to anyone else because we weren't actually actively looking to sell the business. We were just going to have a conversation and see where it went, and it obviously went the whole way, and we sold.
Was it quite a smooth transaction during and after?
Yeah, I mean, Smedvig Capital were fantastic. So John Hewitt, the CEO, they led a lot of the negotiation side of the deal, and they did a fantastic job. So from our side, it was relatively smooth, and we could concentrate more on the day-to-day actual still running the business, because as soon as you raise money or you look to sell a business, you get taken out of the business very very easily, and not focusing enough on the day-to-day. So the fact that Smedvig ran that side of it meant that we could focus more on day-to-day, which was good for us and good for the business.
Great. And post the transaction, how did that go? Was it smooth integration with Zipcar? Or?
The integration was relatively smooth once we'd actually got past the competition commission process. So we were referred to the competition commission, and that lasted about 9 months, which did take our eye off the ball, I think, with the business, and it took up a lot of time getting through that, but we did get through that. So by January 2011 we were clear of that, and then we could really focus on the integration side, and Zipcar could then focus on their IPO as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. What we're going to do next is come back for part 2, where we are going to talk about Brett's second business, Love Space.